appointed hour. I'll call this meeting of the Grafton Cable TV Oversight Committee to order here Monday, July 15th, 2024. We're doing this with Zoom access, but all of the committee members are present in the room. So far, I don't see anybody out on the web watching us.
No public.
There's no public. But, okay. You wanna do reorganization first? I have it first, but,
Anybody interested for the vice chair?
well, no. And I've been like to 3 different reorganizations and every one of them was done differently.
Yeah.
Why don't we go around the table and see who thinks what about who should be chair?
I'd nominate you again for chair.
Second.
Yeah, we're not gonna nominate yet, we're gonna figure out whether we do, because some people don't like having wait and see if you have to.
Yeah.
I didn't like the idea of, someplace we just did this, and there were 2 nominees, and you had to vote against,
One or the other.
no,
right?
there was only one nominee.
Yeah.
And if you wanted another person, you had to vote against that person. But if you have multiple people and you can just pick who you vote for, then you can vote for somebody. And
So not necessarily majority rule.
oh yeah, it's
okay.
majority rule, but it's just that I'm not saying no to you, I'm saying yes to you.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
And that's just, nicer. But anyway, let's see.
Can I just have some clarity on what positions there are? There's chair, there's vice chair. Do you guys have a treasurer that you need to fill as well, and a clerk?
Oh,
So
yeah,
there's-
Yeah.
Do you guys do clerk as well? So there's 5 of us and 4 roles,
Yeah,
correct?
he's the clerk,
Let me think about that.
and Bob Berger was the treasurer.
Okay.
We have chairman,
vice
chairman is no longer
Right.
with us.
Monsky.
Or I moved up from vice chair and I don't think we made a vice chair. I don't
Oh, there was a
remember.
vice chair.
Yeah. Bob,
Michael was.
Bob
So
the
he
drummer,
right there.
Bob the drummer was
Yeah.
chair.
Oh, that
I
was
got him
prior,
And,
yes,
and
yes.
he just, a couple days before I think it was the December meeting, I found out that he's
Right.
gone.
Right.
And no one bothered to tell me, and I'm vice chair.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a meeting.
Okay.
Chair, vice chair, clerk, and treasurer. And we don't have a treasurer now, so tonight is probably not gonna have much of a treasurer's report. Somebody who knows their way around town hall these days would make a good
I gotta
treasurer.
know Mary.
Bob Berger
I don't know
was.
Mary personally.
Bob Berger knew how.
Yeah. You know Mary upstairs in the county?
Sure do. I got a meeting with her in a couple
Oh,
of
there
weeks.
you go.
So, anyway, some are interested in me. Anybody else?
So I just want to clarify the role of chair is just to set the agenda and run the meeting, correct?
Be the chairman of the committee. Chair has whatever.
You can also
Yeah,
So like
well,
when I was on the select
actually,
board,
there-
that's what the role of chair is,
at
to set
certain-
the agenda and run the meeting. They didn't have any other further responsibilities than any other member.
At certain times in the past, the chair has had some discretion around small expenditures when we had to do approval of spending money.
Okay.
So that they didn't have to wait, needed bulbs for the lights. Danielle would call up and say, or whoever it was, would say, we gotta have some. And I'd say, sure. How much? A couple $100, okay. When it was a few thousand, then I had to think about, beyond a certain amount, we had to take some action. Committee had to take some action.
But you're using those as like, those are extenuating circumstances, they're not on a regular
Oh,
basis.
well, no, but, you know, a chairman is a chairman. He sets the agenda, I suppose. I've never been terribly worried about, you know, I like to have everything on the agenda that we might like to talk about. Even if some of them, we don't have something to say this time. Other people wanted to have it only, you know, just the exact things that they wanted to talk about. But, you know, that's a chairman.
I just wanna make sure that we're all using chairman in the same way, that the roles and the responsibility of the chair are as outlined, that they set the agenda, they run the meeting, and they potentially pay last minute small dollar items.
We'll see about that. I don't think we do that now.
That's been waived now, yeah.
Um,
About changing the rules.
Because of the situation that
Right.
we come into.
Okay, yeah,
But as I say, you know, he's just the go-to person, or has been, for when something's needed. And he deals with, or she, never been a she.
we can change that.
Well, I know we can fix that. So, one more time. Anyone else?
For the chair,
Do you wanna be chair again?
I wanna know how things go first, but okay.
What does that mean?
He wants everybody's opinion first. You want everybody's opinion first.
Yeah, but I don't wanna support someone who doesn't wanna do it, so
I'm just concerned about where we're gonna end up going, cause there's been, you know, a majority of the committee is new, and, based on what we did last time, I don't know where we're going, but, you know, I've chaired hundreds and hundreds of meetings between this and all my other
planning
stuff,
boards.
so I can probably handle it.
Oh yeah, no question about that,
And
is it
and it's
something
okay.
you want to handle is the question. And you're not really giving me a yes
Okay.
on that, so.
Well, I just, yes, okay.
Does that depend from the August 13 meeting with the select board? Is that what you're gonna wait?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were
Because they're
saying,
gonna
I
wait on
didn't understand what you were getting at, so.
No, it's just, where's the committee going? But we'll find out. Okay?
Well, you know, let me ask this, does that need to be determined at this meeting tonight?
Well, it's on the agenda, and it's normally what we do, and we have to fill
Well, you know, the only reason I bring that up is that if we have another meeting with the select board or something, we're supposed to be
No,
meeting, or.
Well, we're gonna go over
it's on
the
agenda.
roles and
Well,
responsibilities.
correct, that, you know, but to
Yeah.
talk for and more about things so that we have a better understanding of what kind
Yeah.
of our mission is, then on the basis of that, you may have a
It's
different opinion.
it's okay. It's okay.
But to your point, if we reorganize tonight, there's no limitations of how many times we have to reorganize. So after August 13th, if we wanna reorganize again, we
Okay.
can reorganize
There
again.
you go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Then
Or
that addresses.
someone can just quit and disappear. And then whoever was vice chair. Or they can say, I wanna step down, yeah.
It's pretty doom and
Never
gloom
has
coming from your
happened.
corner over here, I'm not,
What's that?
there's a lot of doom and gloom coming over here.
Well,
I'm not trying to do that.
anyway, how do we feel?
I don't mind being treasurer unless somebody had an
Okay,
opinion towards that.
let's do the chair.
Yeah, but I
One-
thought you were going around everybody just talking how they talk.
Yeah, but,
Okay.
He wants
one
specifically,
officer at a time.
once the chair has been determined, then he can, appointed as the chair, he can then work on the other positions as we get.
We have to do one at a time, and we'll find out who gets the privilege of, doing that. But I think I heard what I wanted to hear.
Did you think
Okay.
I wanted to be chair?
No,
I could do it too. That's,
and no,
I don't mind doing it.
I'm sure you
but
could, but I thought I heard you say that you could do, one of the other jobs.
I can do any of the jobs. I am.
Well, okay,
I'm pretty
cause
impressive.
treasurer's the hard one,
There you go.
and you'll get to know all about the money.
Yes.
As much as you can pull out of that system, you know, we've been through how many different systems and accounting systems, 2 or 3 of them, and Bob Berger just had fits trying to get the information. Anyway, so that we don't run too long, Anybody? It was moved and seconded.
Oh, you actually accepted that motion? I thought you shot
Oh,
it
yeah,
down.
no, I, discussion before motion happens a lot. Anyway, consider that, are we all right that that's a motion and a second? And there's no other motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we don't have to call. That is so nice. Now. If we, well, okay, the next one would be vice chair.
I have no interest, so if anybody has.
My only position for myself is I'd be willing to help, but being new and still learning the ropes of town and how all this operates, I may be too new for some of those positions.
So what the vice chair really does is if the chair can't make it, they run the meeting. That is basically the role of the vice chair. It's not super intimidating.
Or when the chair disappears from the committee. Suddenly.
Keep saying that. Are you hinting at something?
I was a little,
I know
have you ever
Bob
had that happen to you, that, it's, all of a sudden, the chairman is gone and you're gonna, and they didn't bother to tell me,
He's gonna be 70 pretty soon.
what's that, how many?
You're gonna be 70 pretty soon, right?
No, I think I'm on
Years
my.
on this committee, but
I'm on my 40-something, 39th birthday.
oh, nice.
You
On this
remember,
committee, yeah.
who was that, Jack Benning or somebody? It was always his, not Jack Benning, well, anyway, one of them. It was always his 39th birthday. Maybe it was Benning.
Well, I move to make Walt the vice chair.
I second the motion.
Okay. Vice chair. Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, clerk.
I move Corson stays the clerk.
I second
I
it.
accept that.
Okay.
That was easy.
Well,
That's one of the hard jobs. I
Anybody
minutes,
else?
minutes
Anybody
are
else?
tough.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. And treasurer.
I make a motion to nominate,
Colleen.
Miss,
Collins.
Colleen is great.
Colleen. I was looking for your last name.
And I'll,
Colleen as the treasurer of the
and
committee.
I'll second that.
Okay. I think it'll, well, we didn't vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. This organizational chart needs to be filled out. And you can do that.
Sent to the clerk.
You check with me afterwards. I have at least 2/3 of the information, or get everybody to fill it in individually.
Yeah, just pass
Pass
it
it
around.
around.
We'll spell our line. Easy.
All right, pass it around. Okay, so certificate of organization.
That was easy.
At this point, we reach public input. This is when anyone who wants to talk to us about something that's
Let's see.
within our purview and not on the agenda otherwise can speak. And it's been my custom that includes committee members as well as anybody else. Is there any, I see nothing from the web, although I'm not sure. And is there anything in the room? Okay. The committee charge. This is the one that's the big deal right now. Does everybody have it? Well, okay.
Yeah, you
Bob DeTola quit a little before the beginning of the year. And the
Quit the
committee
committee, but he's
situation
still-
came to the Board of Selectmen. And there was a question about what our charge was. And it turned out that no one could find whatever the official charge form is. I don't think there ever was one, quite frankly. Well, I'm pretty certain of it because I dealt with that. So the selectmen had a meeting and they talked about it. And finally they decided that the charge that has been on the town website, would be retained as it was. So, and they adopted it, and there's, we have this, I just been putting this together as we went along here today. You can see they all signed. So that's an official charge. And those are exactly what I probably originally wrote from a previous website when, from years ago.
Yes, certainly.
Oh, yes, they use the bank.
So the selectman said, keep it the way it is, and Evan went off to see what to do about it, or what he wanted to do about it. More recently, actually about, well, a long time. That was 5 months or 6 months later, he finally wrote down his opinion, which we have, as to the way it should work, or the way it should work. I know that Bob DeToma sends me messages that say he's doing what it says here. Okay, but Evan said, if you, I have CC'd the select board and Bob on this. If the committee disagrees with my interpretation, I urge you to reach out to the select board to discuss the matter at an upcoming meeting. While I may interpret, I have no authority over committee charges. The main, I think, we always had the person who was in charge of running the studio present at committee meetings when they were an employee of Greater Media Charter. They came and participated, but didn't vote. Bob was already a member of the committee, and he just continued, and he interacted with, we interacted as we always have on what we're gonna do, how we're gonna spend money, where we wanna go, and all of that sort of thing. Now, things, I've heard things that happened, but I don't have firsthand contact with what happened. And as I say, Bob decided to go away, not come to meetings, and we've gotten into this thing here. The charge still stands, and I guess we're gonna have to talk to the select board about it to some level, because somebody up there, someone has to have it on their August agenda.
Did you want to say something?
I always wanna say
Okay.
something.
Please go ahead.
So they did speak about it briefly in one of their recent meetings because the memo was in their correspondence. So they touched on it, saying that they will be bringing it up in a future meeting because they wanna go into it further to discuss the memo and the charge and to make, just to bring peace to all of it. But in addition to the charge being on here, that's not the only line in our charge. We can be doing other things. So for example, inform the public about cable television services. Since our last meeting, we now have a packet on the town website, like all the other boards and committees, you sent out all the information tonight's meeting over several different emails, and now there's a packet. So if you go on the calendar and go to the agenda, you'll have a packet. So anybody who wants to participate or follow along will have that information.
Yeah.
In addition to that, there's now a button on the town website where all the Access Cable activity reports, so that you can go back and read the last 4 or 5 reports, but those will all keep getting in there as a nice place for just to keep all the information in one central location. So again, easy for us, but also easy for anybody else that might want to know what's going on. And I want to continue that going forward. So Bob, instead of sending out multiple emails to us with everything, you need to put a packet together as the chair, send it to Amber, and she'll post it on the website. And that would be super
I
helpful.
discovered that. No one had bothered to tell me that was gonna happen. I thought, I don't even know how Bob's stuff got to her.
I sent it to her because I worked on that. So I thought it would be really helpful. I thought
Yeah.
over multiple emails was confusing, and I said putting it in a central location makes the most sense.
The trouble is that, like my experience with the, well, I was surprised. And what you put up was only the stuff that Bob had sent us.
Well, the emails that you sent to us is what I sent to her.
At a certain point in time. But more stuff has come along, things have developed.
What stuff's missing, I guess, is what are you saying is missing? So like for
Well, for
tonight,
example, the select board, we all of a sudden we have the select board being interested. I didn't know that when I wrote the agenda.
right, so that would go in the next packet. So there's a
Well,
cutoff
but-
date
but-
because it came in after a certain date.
Well, you see, my expectations are different. The select board's packet, well, first of all, it gets updated right up close to the meeting. But then it's frozen. Although sometimes they issue revised ones. But the planning board has a different thing. You get a pointer, you get pointers to all of the cases, the files for each case, and stuff is added, people can come along and look at new material is added as it comes along, because some engineer is gonna submit his drawing about 10 minutes before the meeting. And we need access to it in order to see it. So that's the way that I like that dynamic stuff, but in any case, no one told me any of that.
But back to what was missing. You saying stuff was missing.
Well, stuff that's look at your last 5 days, however many days of mail it is, because I've been working on what's going to happen tonight and realizing, the new people might not have whatever it was. I don't think the charge was in there. I don't think
But everything is there now because she posted it, so
Yeah.
she answered the question.
So the point is, going forward, instead of stressing yourself out and going over multiple emails and thinking about stuff up to the last minute, you just
Send it to
you
her.
write your charge. Yeah, if you want, I'll even do it. I don't care.
No, but if he sends it to Amber, she'll do it, right?
Yeah, you just send it to Amber, right?
Yeah.
So all those, the bills that you sent out, the hearing assistance that you sent out, the charge just went out today, so I didn't. But the way I would say select board's a little bit more similar to how this committee runs than I would say planning board, because we're not gonna get last minute plans right before an engineer comes in here, typically. But we might get last minute communication, so the cutoff date would be, the 48 hours before our meeting. Any information that comes in after that just goes in the next packet. It doesn't not come, it just goes in the next packet.
except that it's about, you've got the weekend in there, so it's not 48 hours, it's backed off
Right,
2
so it would be
days.
that Wednesday.
And then I back off a day from that, because then when I forget, I'll still have a day to get it in and be on time. We've had that problem. I imagine other bodies have too.
I think what he's trying to say is that we can do it as you say, but we're gonna find out that, oh geez, I missed the deadline. I better send an email out to everybody. And you fall back into the same.
So the packets don't need to be up there for 48 hours. It's nice if they are. The agenda does. That's open meeting law.
Right.
So if you fall under it or you miss, there's no deadline per se for the packet. It's how the committee wants to do it. You can be updating it up to that day if you want. I just think that that's stressful, but if that's easier for you, go for it.
Think about my phone number here.
It was all designed to
updating
make
it
it
right
easier.
up. You're saying send more to Amber and she'll put it in.
It would be nice if you could collect
Yeah.
everything, right, and send it in a
Yeah,
bulk email, and then a last minute stragglers, I'm sure she can accommodate. But you don't want to send her the way you did it with us, where you send her a bunch of different emails over a bunch of different days. You want to collect it all and make it.
Ordinarily, it's nowhere near that much, but this is a big change in the committee. Just also, I can't see my computer screen during the day. I've got a skylight that I have to fix.
We'll get through it though. But what you're saying,
Yeah. Okay.
if you can
Well,
zip
let's
everything and
let's
send it to Amber, she'll
see. No one told me that Amber
does it.
could be asked to do that.
So no one told me either. I reached out and asked.
Oh,
Nobody told me either. I just reached out and asked.
okay. I don't know as well as I do.
Well,
Anyway, good.
if you
Let's
want, it's
let's
under
see what I can.
control, right?
She's going to be expecting to hear this sort of thing.
Yeah, we meet
Okay.
once a month. It's not going to be an overload, and she's used to posting packets for other committees, so she's very in the know to how to post a packet.
She's very efficient. so
Super
yeah,
efficient.
yeah.
Because Natalia is the one who basically does that for the planning board.
Right.
She, practically a full-time job for her.
Very different. Planning board's very different than this committee
Yeah.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah, that's much
Yeah.
more.
I made the very first town website, which was almost all just planning board, back around 95. So there's a history of the planning board being on the web.
But again, this circles back to the charge and how we
Yeah,
can
okay.
beat our mission and goals and,
Yeah.
and how we've accomplished, just even that first line, we're gonna be able to do that more efficiently now because of the information we've added to the website since our last meeting.
Okay, well, let's see if I can manage that.
Okay.
I think so.
And as far as the last line, which ties into the second to last line, that ties into Evan's memo, it sounds like we're kind of in a holding pattern until after the select board meets, or do you guys are we all planning to attend that? How do you guys envision that meeting going?
I hope everyone can come. After figuring out whether I actually have to post that.
If we're all gonna go, or at least a majority, you definitely wanna post.
Well, but when you're, there's something about this situation where but I've always been the, be careful, better to do too much than too little. Let me see. Okay. All right, that's good. What was that?
I was just wanted to add comments to the whole thing with the charge and so forth. Based on the previous meeting we had before, there was a lot of uncertainty, people not knowing what's going on, and not really agreeing with what we've done in the past, and I can understand why that would all be. But the way I would interpret it, and again coming from being on the committee for all this time, is that if what Bob was saying was that when it came to what the the select board was asking us to do, they really don't know what we're to really do, but more or less in a very general term. And it took Bob to basically present to them to say, this is what we would like to be responsible for. Would you accept it? Would you change it? So forth. So in other words, you give them something to work with to say, yes, this is what we want you guys to do. And that's, I think, how the goals and the missions are spelled out, because it was basically a mirror echoing back as to what was established here. So I think if you look at that line specifically, that oversees the cable funds and its use, all of the time in the past, and it was primarily just accepted as very broad in terms of the use of it, and no one ever really questioned the issues associated with the amount of money being spent on this or that, we used to actually go through the trouble of looking at all of the different invoices and so forth, and the warrants and things, and reviewing them and signing off on them and so forth, and submitting them for them to get paid and so forth. So we went through all that process for a very long time. Then the committee kind of evolved and changed a little bit with some members, and that part of it relative to the treasurer kind of disappeared. And it was kind of odd that it occurred that way. Of course, I wasn't involved in any part of that, but you kind of just accepted that. And then it's now evolved to what the latest incident with this thing with the table and expenditures happening behind the scenes that we're not really seeing. We're getting notices, oh, they bought this and they bought that. And they're like, well, wait a minute, well, how could they do that? We're supposed to oversee this. And that's what we're taking it as. We're supposed to oversee this, regardless of what the money amount was. But the point is, they're saying, like, we're no longer in control. We're the committee. We're supposed to be doing this kind of stuff, and it's all being done behind our backs. So I think this comes down to, how do we make what they do and what we do integrate? And how can you have something that is homogeneous between the two? And I think that what we have to define for our, as a committee, what the cable fund and its use outline should be. Now, it was understood that there was up to a certain dollar amount, which was take care of light bulbs, batteries, things that had to come in tapes, memory cards, things that they had to buy pretty much spare at the moment, basically just basic supplies. But when it came to any piece of equipment, even if it was only $100, we basically said, yep, that's good, we should do this, yep. We basically all sign off on it and that would be done. So we were kind of like being very, very, what's the term you used? I forgot what it was.
Minutia.
Being very, very picky on everything that it was.
Meticulous and looking at all the-
But the point was, I don't think we spent very much time on those little things, but we just simply said, yeah, and we accept it. But if there was something that came along, it was like, no, I don't think we should. And then you'd have a discussion as to why that came about. But we've now come to, with the past couple of months, because things have kind of changed, because now we have a different town administrator who didn't operate like the present one does. I mean, or say the old one didn't operate like the present one does. And he took it upon himself to think that he had the authority to approve what was going on by the manager of the studio, rather than the committee having the authority to manage the finances for the studio. So it was one of these things where he was kind of stepping on our toes, but at the same time he figured, well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The other committees, like you're saying, oh wait, $5,000, what's the big deal?
It's a town policy though.
Right,
That's
shouldn't be a big deal. They should be
town.
able to do that no matter what. But from what we were experiencing, that never happened. So that's why it was such a shock, why it was so difficult to try to accept it. So I'm thinking, where we had kind of like an understanding that we need to outline and specify specifically parameters as to what that would be. And even if we have to say, purchases beyond a certain amount, supplies and materials such as that, as I talked about, in other words, outline what you define as to what the different categories would be. Otherwise, everything would be passed through as a committee. That's what I'm saying, but go ahead, Bob.
We never had anything to do with the payrolls.
No,
And we really never had anything to do with the heating and lighting and all that stuff. What the payrolls go back when Charter was running the studio down in South Grafton, because we hired, actually going back quite a long ways, Charter wouldn't add another person to their staff when it got to where there was more than one person needed for the studio. So then I remember the negotiations and the discussion with the select board. We decided that the town would
Add an extra.
So now we had a charter employee and a town employee. Over time, then one and then two part-time people also came into that. But that was all going through the, whatever the normal process was, up, in the office, in the administrator's office, or whoever it is. When we moved up here, built our studio, moved up here, charter says their person isn't going to be in that's your studio.
No longer would we have a manager of a studio provided for us. We had to provide our own.
And the town administrator decided that would be Bob. Bob was already the full-time person, if I recall correctly,
One of the employees.
under charter. He didn't bother to tell us anything about that. It just, things went along and, it was, okay, it went along, there was no problem. Only just in whatever, November, December, this thing bubbled up. And that's the first we've heard about it.
Well, but to be fair, Mr. Tillman's been the department head since before Evan got here, and Evan's in his second contract. So this has been going on for multiple years where Mr. Tillman's been the department head of the cable studio.
It's the first we've heard of it.
But again,
Well,
I
department.
wasn't here to say that, but I'm probably the newest kid on the block, and I knew that, so I don't know how you guys wouldn't have known that.
Well, it was the responsibilities of the position that changed. That was the thing.
Yep.
He was basically the person that took care of things, just as we had a charter employee doing it.
Mhm.
But the roles of the former charter employees and others, they never got involved in asking us to buy this and to buy that and so forth. It was primarily a consensus where we would, as a group, figure out what things would be best for it. We did confide in them to see if that would be something that'd be good or not, and they say sure, yeah, or that would be a good idea, or they'd recommend something else.
Right.
But the point is, and that was all in negotiation. What evolved is that when Bob changed from like what would be a previous charter employee as a managing person running the studio, he became far more than the managers that we typically had. And he ended up getting additional powers and controls of the cash, of the expenditures,
Mhm.
which we never had before either. And that's where we were kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? And the thing is that when you have another party, which is basically siphoning off, $4,000 here, $3,000 here, we've got a budget where we specify how much we've planned and what we have. And that money's coming straight off that budget. And we
Is
have
there actual money being siphoned off? Because I asked
There
last
was,
meeting
yeah.
and you said that there wasn't, so now you're saying that there
No,
is.
no, there was. There certainly was. Because, Bob Berger, that was one of his big gripes, and I think that's why he left, was the fact is that he had everything all planned out. He had figured out exactly how much expenditure was going to be, and I think there was 15,000.
Oh, is this
It was
for
decided.
are you talking about just the desk specifically, or were there multiple incidences of multiple?
Well, no, the desk thing
That's
got it kicked off.
75,000. I think that's what
That's
The
what-
desk
that's
blew
what kicked
everything up, but when you say like
because of the fact,
siphoning off, it makes it
because of
sound
the
like
fact
there's a
that
problem.
we had approved it, but we wanted Bob to come in and give us different options.
Right.
Other than just that.
Right, and I'm not super interested in reliving
He went
the
ahead and
desk.
just bought it.
So what I'm trying to say,
Because Evan directed him to do it.
Mhm.
And we didn't know.
Right,
through the course of the whole year,
So-
we had a plan as to how much money we had to set aside
for the desk.
no,
Oh, okay.
Oh, for everything else.
for,
No.
for expenditures
Okay.
for that fiscal year.
We
And-
have to get a town meeting vote. I think we still do.
The desk was
To
just a
take-
capital expenditure.
Yeah.
It was nothing to do with the budget.
We,
It was up and above.
Can Corson, I'm sorry, Bob. Can Corson just finish his train of thought?
Well,
Yeah.
He can step in, go ahead.
Right, cause you were making some good points, but and then,
Right, so my point was that we had allocated specific funds to do certain tasks. And part of that money, we intended on buying specific furniture for the studio. And we were looking at a good portion of that money to be spent for that purpose. Behind the scenes, they just bought the stuff without even considering what we want to use and how we're planning on using our budget for the purposes of that expenditure. So my point is we no longer have control over how much we're going to spend on this type of equipment that we intend on using for the studio. So all of the planning associated with the expenditures is off kilter. We no longer have that kind of control. So the thing comes to the part, it's like, who does have control? Do they have control? Do we have control? You know, and if we don't have control, what are we doing here? I mean, that's the whole purpose. We're supposed to be controlling the cable oversight. And now we're not? That doesn't sound right to me. And that's why it seemed to be such an outrage,
okay.
as it were.
We're not even a rubber stamp now anymore. We just
well,
Go ahead, Bob.
No,
So
we
so
don't
we
even
find
get-
out after the
We
fact.
don't even get to stamp.
Right.
But
Well,
Uh,
I think it's
that-
important for us
but-
to come to a consensus before the select board, or you're gonna have
Yeah,
five
well,
different
but I
people
wanna-
up there
I wanna-
saying different things.
You have.
I wanna
I-
cover some of this ground.
Please.
First of all, we were never consulted about the budget that was voted
Which
That's our
budget?
meeting?
At town meeting, yeah.
at town meeting.
So you never went to FinCom, you never met with,
We were never told that there was a budget prepared or submitted.
That we
Okay.
had.
Now, who did that?
department heads submit budgets.
Yeah,
Are
but
you-
department heads who have
But committees should
a
have
committee
thought,
that's
yeah.
supposed to
For sure.
oversee the fund and who have for 40 years probably should hear about it.
Don't disagree.
Yes, so that
So that's what
made it a
I'm
little
trying-
bit,
we were
that made it a little bit
bypassed
difficult.
altogether, so.
My problem, it went along okay, as long as Bob worked with us. I don't care whose hat is what. All he has to do is come work with us. How about this? How about that? What do you think? Why is that good? And that's all we need, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, this
That's
is
what
he
I'm
did.
trying to get to.
This is what he
But
did when he
it's
was on the committee.
It's about 10 miles.
Once
to
his
get
position transferred, to Evan was directing him what to do, and he wasn't communicating to the committee.
In a sense,
And that's what that breakdown is.
Right.
the manager of the studio finds that us as a committee is in the way. And he's much faster if he just goes to his boss, the town administrator, yeah, you approve this? Oh, sure.
But when you say stuff like that, it's not really inviting to want to come in and work with you. You know what I mean? It's coming off hostile. It's coming off, I don't want to work with them because they don't want to work with me.
I understand that. That's
But
why I'm
but
saying,
you
I
could
think
just
we
say
need
it,
to.
and then it's not good. It's not creating or foster an environment to want to
Well,
work together.
this is where I'm saying, I think what we need to do is have some sort of better definition so so that he is aware of what his boundaries are, that he knows what his responsibilities are financially and other aspects of it, as our committee dictates.
Yep.
But he has a certain amount of friction with all of that. And it's easily been seen that there's friction.
Do we have any policies as a committee?
There are some,
Well,
but not that many.
nothing.
So that's an avenue to
nothing
go down.
formal.
Like, what's our budget
Yeah, I haven't
policy?
seen the policy.
And we draft a policy that we follow for this committee, and then we work, with the
Great.
department head to say, hey, this is our budget policy. We'd love to see it in January when it's all going through the process so that we can get it, before FinCom and whatever, what have you. I don't know if you're gonna get as much input as you're looking for, but we gotta start somewhere, and starting with a policy, I think, would be helpful.
And may I ask a question for clarification?
Sure.
Relative to the budget, so you establish a budget of X number of dollars, let's say for furniture for the studio. Then you're overseeing that budget expenditure, but are you, or does this committee also determine specifically what furniture we're going to be buying as part of that budget, or is
No,
that
no.
given to
That's
them?
their choice.
We haven't
We're
been
just
to
an
that.
advisory, I know,
No, we haven't been at that level, we've anticipated the likely initiatives in the coming year.
And that should be done in unity with the manager, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Agreed.
And then, see, the way it works, we have to get, the money's in the cable fund, and there's this business about, you have to have a special, particular vote from town meeting to take a certain, whatever amount out. So we have to try to anticipate what's gonna come up and, set a number. Maybe we don't spend it. Things happen and you can't.
So do we have to anticipate for the yearly budget, or the department head has to anticipate for the yearly budget?
If we're going to, do all of these things about the life and progress of cable, we have to. Well,
We do.
I guess
those
I'm
are the
just trying to
tools you
figure out
use.
Just saying.
the order of operation. Is it that the department head comes in and says, hey, I'm gonna need 100K to run next year, then we review it and go back and say, hey, I think you might need 115, what do you think? Or do we go to the department and say, hey, you only have 100K, live within your means? How do you
No,
envision
I
this?
think No, we-
Option one is
Option
is
one,
the
right?
exactly.
I-
But I haven't
I-
seen a P&P yet. Who has those policy and procedures of the committee?
Never seen any such thing.
We
So we
probably
might
don't
wanna
at
start
this-
working on it.
Right, so we need to make our own and get them on the website.
I think we should do it,
Yeah.
at least a draft before
Absolutely.
August.
Well, that's
It's gonna be tough,
that's pushing it,
but
but
at least we
I
can,
think you get
we
through
can bring it up to their
August.
attention that we're working on something. And then we'll take because back in April, May, the select board pretty much said, okay, you're gonna be the oversight, we'll see you once a year.
Mhm.
And that's the way it was left, but it's still very ambiguous.
Because overseeing cable funds is just too broad, because
Yeah,
it is.
and that's
It's
what we
open
just
for us to interpret what
right.
that
So they
is.
just
Yes.
need to lock that down for us,
I
and
agree.
if we could come with a presentation of this is what we would like it to
I
be,
couldn't agree
I
more.
think that would be helpful.
It would, but, I'm sorry, Bob, one more thing I wanna say, but the studio manager really has a difficult time working with us on all of this stuff. And we've even asked him many times to at least attend the meetings and so forth, and he will not do that. He'll just write up a
Yeah,
report,
that is true.
and he only writes up this report because his boss told him he has to do it.
All right. Well, we can only tackle so much at a time, so let's baby steps. We know we're seeing the select board on August 13th, and we know this is the problem. So let's stay focused on this line here and how we can, what we would like to see it best as, and then make sure after we're done tonight, the chair sends an email over. The committee has discussed this. We're looking to have this direction at August 13th. Love any feedback you have. We'll see you at the meeting. I don't even know if anybody's notified the department head about August 13th. I know we've been
Yes.
notified.
I think the emails, I don't know.
Right. So we want to make crystal clear that if the town hasn't notified him, that we are. You know what I mean? That everybody's notified. If we're so excited to be the
His-
ones to
his
tell
bo-
him
his
stuff, we
boss
should make sure
really
we
should
tell him
tell him.
everything.
His boss should really tell him. I don't think there are any secrets, but okay.
But
yeah,
if that's the way you view it, if his boss should tell him, then his boss should tell him what to spend money on. His boss, and then what's the point of us? We can be clear with our communication. Over communicating is always better.
That's why Paul Berg pretty much quit.
Right. Well, I hate talking about people when they're not here, so I don't
Yeah.
want to talk
No,
about
I
them, but-
hear you. You have a point too. Okay.
You could talk about.
You
him
would.
here.
Well, yeah.
There was.
Love the colors. So good.
There was
Teal?
the budget. I see him worrying about, the budget to run things and pay people, to, pay the people, pay the heat, pay the light, all the routine spending and whatever, routine materials. But money spent on, like, the fitting out of this room, we should know about, because that's a very important part of the program. He should, there's somewhere where he brings in the basic operating budget, and we talk as we have every year, we can anticipate, oh, this and this and that, probably about $80,000, whatever it's gonna be. Make that a part of it. Then, as the year goes along, things happen. This last year, some things didn't get done for a number of reasons. But this idea of the Wi-Fi in the park came along. You're up on the Wi-Fi in the park. As soon as Fiona told me that they were looking at that, I said, cable can help with that.
Right.
And so we started talking about how do people feel? Do you think since we basically paid for the network, the town network, cable money, adding to the network would be something that we'd spend. And there's money in the budget. We haven't spent it on something else, so there would be money there if we get to the point of proposing that it's like $25,000 going to help that. I think maybe that's gone by. I think Fiona's thinks she has a line on it, but that's the dynamic. Things move a little faster than annual budgets as far as all of this goes. So anyway, I want just Bob works with us, comes to the meetings, and we can chat. We could chat about what was done in the studio, because we're trying to promote what's done in the studio and what's put out on the channel. Just a little conversation. If you could go back to old meetings and you could see, get a little more sense of that dynamic. Anyway, that's what I'm looking to.
So, but back to the charge and the select board, that's what you wanna go in there and say, make Bob come to the meetings?
I want
that's
to
not
say,
in our
I want to
charge.
say we work with Bob on the money.
Right, and then that circles back to the idea of a policy. What does work with Bob on a that's, again, we can't be talking in vague terms.
Right.
So
Why-
hold on, let me finish. Creating a policy that, hey, by November 1st, we will have a vision for the next year. We will submit that to the department head so that they can work on what they're gonna do, and then they send us a budget in January, and then we go over that. These are just rough dates, rough terms, but coming up with a game plan to follow so that we're all on the same page, we're all, hey, it's December and we haven't given our department head what they need, we're letting him down. Hey, it's March, we still haven't seen what the policy said, where are you with this? Like we gotta set expectations so that we can all meet them.
I agree.
I think that what Bob is concerned, and again, that was something I said about 20 minutes ago, that if we define,
But that doesn't have to be in the charge.
No, it
That
doesn't.
could be separate
Right,
from the
separate.
charge.
but the charge basically tells us we can do that we can create an outline of what the rules are and define
we
what
can-
they are,
we-
right?
Yeah, we
But
can do that.
Oversight doesn't have to be a yes or no vote. Oversight is seeing what's going on, and
Flexible.
talking about it.
Yeah. But you still wanna have a
You know,
little, some
if
guidelines.
if he decides to spend $50,000 on something that we think is really screwy, maybe we'll go and talk to the select board too about it. But see that's the beauty of oversight. You're just overseeing.
But you can oversee something that's already happened too. You're talking
No.
about you want preemptive sight. You want to have control. So you're talking more control than oversight. Because I can oversee something that's already happened and oversee that. Oh, you paid the electric bill. Oh, great, you paid this. That's oversight because it got paid last month and I didn't have to give input.
Except it's too late then to do anything
Yeah.
about it.
So you're not talking about just oversight. You're talking about
Right.
control, and
Well,
that's
but
different.
I'm not talking about control. I'm talking about working together.
Well, you could hit it from an opposite angle, and that is should something be spent and we're way over budget, who then is responsible for that?
Right.
Is it Bob? Is it this
100%
committee?
it's the department head.
That'll be part of the conversation up front.
Right.
What happens
And
when
if
we
we have a
discover this?
policy in place,
Mhm.
we have something to fall back.
Right.
Right now, we don't have nothing.
Right.
We only have words saying that we wanna work together, but work together.
So-
I love
So let's-
policies, and I got on CPC last year. They've been over for 20 years, never had a policy. They have their first policy because we just wrote it this year. We found a need, we needed a policy. Now CPC has its first policy.
Okay. I think,
And that's a,
how about,
CPC should have a policy.
how about you write up a policy and we'll meet before the selectmen meeting, which is in 2 weeks, I think.
It's
So
gotta be
here's the
tough.
thing, though. The policy doesn't need to be approved by the select board. It's an
No.
internal policy that we
No, no,
follow.
no.
All right, then it doesn't affect our meeting with the selectmen.
It does not. That's what I'm getting at.
All right.
What affects us is this line. We need to be all in unison or don't. And we show up that we're a divided committee, define it for us. So that's what we're talking about right now is this line. We're either all gonna agree on something or we're not, and we're gonna ask them to tell us.
And agree on something.
Right, so when you say oversight, to me, oversight can be something that's already happened in the past. And you don't see it that way.
No.
And you don't see it that way. What do you see oversight is? You have to see it before it happens, or could it be something that happened in the past?
Well, my take is that if Bob has needs,
Mhm.
he should share with us. Yeah, we can agree, he can go out, get quotes, we can look at it, and we can be an advisor to him.
Mhm.
Saying, like you said, his quote comes back at 75, and then it's gonna have to be 100. Well, I think we gotta preempt that in case we're gonna run short, we can run short. So that's one of the issues. That's the way I see it, is be proactive rather than reactive after the fact.
Post act.
And the fact, brings us back to the table issue. We had conversation, we invited them, never showed up, never even answered. And then next thing you know, we find out through an email, oh, we already placed the order. And that's what, you follow what I'm saying?
I do. The table is a big sticking point.
What I'm saying, that's where it started.
Right.
I'm just bringing it up as an example.
I
It
know.
doesn't necessarily,
Yeah, but it's got hurt feelings on all sides I can sense, and this was before my time.
Right.
But it does seem like it keeps.
now the table is great, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
maybe there could have been another option. He only focused on one style.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but that's the way.
back when he,
If I might, and I'm just following here.
Yeah.
But then, if there was other styles, then it sounds to me like we're getting into deciding what particular furniture.
No,
we're
just
buying.
an advisory. Just an advisory saying, well, instead of having 3 to 7 seats, we could have gone to 10 seats option. Follow what I'm saying?
And did
The-
you guys advise
the-
that?
No,
The-
not because they went ahead and bought it.
Oh, because I thought I had heard that there were like a Ricky Lake table was proposed, and that
By Bob the Toma. And then, oh, go ahead.
okay. Back through the fall, a meeting or maybe a couple meetings, Bob brought up.
Can we
He-
use
he-
last names because there's too many Bobs at this point?
Mhm.
So
Toma.
did Toma or Bert? Who brought up?
The
Yeah.
Bob we've been talking
Bob
about
the Toma.
most.
Okay.
Bob DeToma, working with us, member of the committee, says, here's something, I remember it like $3,000, and it was just a part of that whole table system. It was just one,
And later on, it was.
one configuration.
And did he come in his capacity as a member or as a department head?
What?
He was
There's
a
no
member.
distinction. There wasn't, we didn't know that there was this department head thing at that point.
But at the
But
time,
we're
he was
just
a committee member.
Right.
we're just talking about it, and I said, gee, if we're gonna do that, maybe we could do something bigger and better, because he's only gonna spend $3,000. He's gonna spend the minimum to get something, and gee, that might be a good thing to look at and see if we can do something better. And various people went off to look and see what else there was. And then it blew up. And the next thing we know, I think it's something like an $8,000 purchase for the whole package.
When you say various people went off and looked at things, did those things come back to this committee?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Bob DeToma was advised through this committee
No,
as, but,
no, he was gone.
so you don't think he could watch the meetings and
Well, I don't know what he does.
I'm sure he did
but this,
see, because we did forward to him the information that we
okay,
had
so
gotten.
then you guys
He was
advised him.
informed of it, but by then it was already too late. He already purchased it, so he didn't even tell us that he purchased it.
Okay,
And it was one of these things where we were being led to think that this is still on the table to be discussed.
okay,
And he just went and did it without, like, what do you mean?
okay.
There was one thing else I just wanted to talk about, a side thing about the spending of money. I'll give you the craziest scenario, as it were. We could buy a doorknob because it's part of our realm, but we can't buy the house to go on the doorknob. So in other words, that there's that connection to it. So there are some things where we'll have things where they will say, we're building, we're gonna make this a studio and so forth. But when it comes to all the chairs for the audience, no, we're not gonna spend the money on those. So in other words, there are certain things that we look at which we're going to spend the money on, which we're not gonna spend the money on, that we see that might exceed the realm of a function of the cable.
Mhm.
And so therefore we're trying to be protective of some of that aspect of it, not to try to build it off too far. I mean, we have gone, I'd say we've stretched it quite a bit when it came to some of the constructions for conference room A and B. And it just really got incredibly way out of kilter. And when we started getting quotes on that whole project and saw how much it was going to be millions and millions of dollars.
Well, a bit over a million.
It was incredible, and I'm like, wow, this is. I don't know if we want to go down this road in terms of what we're doing here with some of these things, and through some manipulation and voting, and the town administrator got involved in it because they were anxious because they want their municipal center to be fixed up, to be really nice and everything, so they want that money to do that, and sometimes you lose. But ultimately, we try to pull on the reins a little bit when it comes to going outside of the realm of that. But there are every so often, like the recent thing with the Wi-Fi.
Mm.
I mean, we looked upon that as being something that could be in the realm because we have drops and so forth that are there, and that the Wi-Fi is something we can use as well. So it has an added benefit for others as well. So it's like the fiber optic network, same kind of thing. We had drops and we had uses for those, which the town could make use of that same thing as well for other purposes, for fire, for telephones and everything else, alarms. So we do have benefits in other areas which we can spend the money for that will benefit other parts, but we try not to get to the part where, okay, now we're going to supply all the phones on that fiber optic network. No, we're not going to do that.
Okay. So,
You get my point?
I get your point, but I think we're gonna get lost in the weeds talking to the select board.
No, I'm just talking to you.
I get it, but we are
about
trying.
the way the money, we try to put some restraints on some of the spending of the money, and sometimes it kind of gets
But we're
out
supposed
of
to be
our
talking about
hands.
this and what we're gonna talk about to the select board.
Right.
I understand. I know
Okay.
I'm going off on a tangent here. I just wanted to give you a better view of what kind of things do kind of happen.
Makes sense,
That's all.
totally.
And the thing is that it's a good pot of money.
Mhm.
The town is really looking at it. In fact, I think at one point the Board of Selectmen got very angry with us when it got up to around $750,000 at one point, and they're like, "My God, look at that money! If you don't spend that money, we're going to take it from you." I think that's what they were saying, right? Said something like,
Certain select persons.
Not me, not this one.
No, this is
the select board. They were basically upset because we weren't paying it down to the extent that they appreciated the use of how we were spending it.
Right.
That they wanted it. They want a reason to have that money spent.
Well,
But going back to the current select board and
I
what
know.
we're gonna kind of
Okay.
say to them.
That's enough of the history.
That's what we need to be focusing on.
Okay, we'll talk about present day. Enough of
Because-
history.
Oversee the cable funds and its use.
Yes.
As long as it falls in line with the town policies, you know what I mean? Is there just a little caveat to add on, or how do you guys want to present? Or do we just present individually? Like, I don't, I don't see a unified voice yet, and I'm looking for that. If we could just agree on something,
Should be unified, otherwise it's a waste of time.
I
Because
100%
they're not
agree.
gonna take it seriously, and I mean, it's,
Or they
you
could
gotta
just,
put yourself in their shoes too.
well, they'll just tell us what to do,
If you're
and
not
then it'll be
prepared,
that. That'll
what do
be
you want
that.
from us? That's
Right.
what they're gonna say, and so, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
Right.
Let's focus on that, 'cause,
'Cause
you know, all the other stuff comes later.
In the memo, there's a policy that says anything under $5,000, the department head takes care of.
Up to 5, correct.
Right. Do we agree with that as a committee? I know I do.
Well, we have to,
Right.
it's a town policy.
So-
The problem is, I think they wanna define hardware versus immediate needs, like pencils, pens, tapes, you know.
Immediate needs should be under $5,000.
Right,
So that should be
but
fine.
that $5,000, I think, covers also, I mean, I think it's ambiguous, I think whatever the departments need, as long as within the 5,000, Yvonne will sign off on it. Or he doesn't have to sign off, he
It
signs off
doesn't
over
have to be a
5.
pre-approval.
Right.
So anything over $5,000 would come to us hopefully just for oversight or for us to at least advise on. It, you know, and that makes sense. Anything over $5,000, I can see us weighing in on.
So.
Not necessarily
Then
dictating,
you
but
play
weighing in
devil
on it.
advocates. In my job, I was a manager of purchasing, and what my buyers used to do, they used to break down the POs
Right.
and find out you cut on. I go, "What are you doing here?" You know, so they could meet under the cap.
Right.
So then the
so
next thing is
you
a
follow that?
financial policy.
Exactly.
So in addition to our budget policy, we would have a financial policy to help say, if this is a big project, right, I don't want you coming in and saying I'm buying 3 chairs here, a camera there, and then you're making a big project.
I could agree with you more.
But again, we'll have to define that in an internal policy that does not have to be defined in the charge.
I think we should discuss now what are we going to present to them. So,
Correct.
Okay, well,
or we're not. I mean, we're the one that are asking, right? So the
No,
select-
they want us to
Oh, they-
come be around while they take this up.
Right.
That's
Okay.
what the memo said.
And while we're there, I'm sure they'll say, we have a member here, could you tell us what you think? And that's, you know, I think that's what we're doing. So I'm hearing now a majority of us agree that the $5,000 makes sense because it's in line with town policies.
Sedge and stuff.
I don't know.
That's
It-
agree, that's a
it-
majority
I
though.
don't
It
agree.
depends on,
I'll explain why I don't agree. And that is that the issue is that, maybe I should ask you this. What things, as a cable committee, would we spend money on that would be greater than $5,000?
A desk that's $8,000.
Hardware. You know, something
Right?
breaks
Isn't that what
down.
you spent on it? A desk.
no, we
That's-
didn't spend a penny on it.
No,
Bob
but
Catona did.
Hear me out.
right.
All right,
But
it came out
that
of
is
the funds.
something that
That's,
came.
but it didn't
No.
have to be. Excuse me, Bob, just a second. It didn't have to be. He could have spent $3,000 for this, then another invoice for this part, another invoice for that part, another invoice for a total of $8,000.
And then
And he has spent $8,000. So give me another example of where you'd be spending something more than $5,000.
why is that example bad though? What you just said.
Because
saving the
he's breaking
money.
it up into, no, he's not saving the money. He's spending all that money, but he's doing it in pieces. It's
So you
it's
fix
like
both
not
the
buy.
car.
You don't buy a car. I buy 4 sets of tires. I buy this. I buy that. I buy that. I buy that. And eventually, I got a whole car.
Okay. So that's where the financial policy would come in to help prevent that.
And how would that prevent it?
Because we would have a policy to say,
Exactly.
hey, we're not doing this.
What
How
does
do you-
our policy have anything to do with what Evan lets Bob do?
So first of all, we would have to draft the policy. So I can't really speak to something that doesn't exist, but you can word it in a way that if you're going to be buying a car, you're not allowed to say, I'm just buying the tires,
He's
I'm
not
just
say-
buying the
He's
doors,
not
I'm
going to say
just
he's
buying
buying
the.
a car.
So that's the fundamental problem. You have such distrust in the department head that you think that they're gonna scheme to do things. And if that's how you feel, you need to, that's not our purview.
Yeah.
You need that,
It's like
you need
building
to
a
give
wall.
them the rope to do it, and then you say, hey, this is a problem.
Yeah, we can't-
And as much as we wanna be preventative, we also can't slander and say that this is gonna take place, so this is why we can't do it.
Yeah, the only problem is that it, you're saying about the fact that, that it becomes a problem, and you talk about the fact that you can't trust him. The whole issue with the desk created just as you were talking about. That's what happened.
that's water over the dam though at this point.
I know, but I'm saying I can
Let's
see
not
that
relive that.
kind of happening again, but another way of working around
I think,
If
I
I-
think as a committee, if we unify and the select board sees that, they'll listen. They'll listen a lot more, they'll pay attention. But we have to know what we're talking about.
And last meeting, we spent a lot of time, practically the whole meeting with the desk, we're still tied up with the
About
desk.
the
for
desk,
over
yeah.
an hour
Yeah.
already.
No, but I'm saying that that was the premise of what you were talking about, where the fact that the policy would prevent that, but I don't see where
But
it
the
really
policy
would.
wasn't in place, so it couldn't happen. And also, I think we're minimizing the whole desk thing. There was bad blood happening there. There was a lot more that doesn't get said in this meeting, and I just don't really want to relitigate the desk.
Yeah, there was
It
a
is
lot.
here.
Right.
We have a desk, and I understand going forward. But is the desk like the 10th list of an issue where that's happened, or the first?
I would say it's the first.
So then let's see if a pattern emerges before we start panicking. In my opinion.
And in the meantime, let's work on the
Yes.
PNP.
Right.
Should we
With
make a
financial
motion or
policy.
something to fix, do
Well,
we need to, about the policies for?
I would like to make a motion to be all on the same page, that whoever gets up there to speak, speaks on behalf of the committee. So I move that the committee will oversee the cable funds in line with the town policy outlined in Evan's memo. And while I just wanna say that we're all in agreement of that, and that's how we would like to be presented at the meeting.
I will second the motion.
Okay,
Yes, I'm in favor of it.
alright, so motion made and seconded, any discussion?
That's my job.
I know, it just flows out naturally, so sorry.
Wait until we get to adjournment, I have my,
Okay,
you know my adjournment thing? No.
get out.
I want us to say Bob works with us, talks to it, we exchange in person about expenditures. Beyond routine. That's all I want us to say. I'm perfect, and that wouldn't be too hard to ask for, I think.
I don't disagree, and I wanna see that relationship flourish
Yeah.
and come to fruition. I don't think it's gonna happen by saying, make the select board force our department head in here. I think that's on us to create that relationship and to work towards it.
I didn't say force, I said, that's what ask the selectmen, that's what we'd like to have, or, tell the selectmen, that's what it would take to settle this. And I don't know about any force, there ought to be some conversation with Bob to see if we can't just agree and be
So
done with this.
then on the charge, you would include the membership as the department head non-voting member. That's how it would affect the charge. But we're
If you think, great, do that,
Okay,
make it happen,
well,
make it
that's
so.
you're suggesting, and we gotta find out if everybody agrees with that. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I've been on the board where we've made charges where we wanted the town clerk on it, it really made sense to have the town clerk on it, we put him on the charge, and the town clerk said, I'm not going to that, and never showed up. Even though we made a charge, put him on there and said, you're part of this, they don't show up. So we can do that, but it does not mean they have to show up, because we're not getting any input from the department head first. We need to be working with them first.
But he won't.
Can you
Okay.
get him here?
And how are you gonna
I
change
don't
it?
mind doing that. I
Please.
absolutely do not mind doing that. But the two meetings I've been to, it's been pretty hostile towards him. The terms that are being used, it's just
Yeah.
the scenario that's being built. And if I was him, I wouldn't want to come. I'd want to see meetings where it looks like we're excited to have him in here, hear his input, recognize his input, and not bring up the desk. You know.
Yeah,
Well,
like I said, that should be water over the
Look
dam.
at
That's
20
all.
years of meetings and how they worked before this thing about the
I don't
desk.
need to worry about 20 years ago. I'm just worried about
No.
today.
It worked the way we're saying.
But we're talking about it today. We're not talking about 20 years
Mr.
ago.
Chairman, like you said, we have a rejuvenated committee, a lot of new members. Let's work with that, let's start with that, under your
So
leadership.
So you're gonna get Bob DeToma to come to our next meeting?
I'm not making any promises, but I can start building that bridge. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I would be very happy to join in that effort as well
Yeah.
too. But I really believe we have to create an environment where it is inviting and it's productive. And if there are needs that need to be addressed, it doesn't take 3 meetings over a course of time to make a decision
No,
for
should-
whatever it
should only
is.
take
It
one.
should be- Exactly.
Right.
Exactly, because.
I'll
well,
second it. All in favor?
By the same
Well,
token,
we have a motion on the table. We
Yes.
have a
Bob
motion.
to-
No, we already have another motion on
I
the
don't
table.
know,
And let me finish my statement, because I think at the same time, I also believe that it should be part of what we all see as a vision for this cable system to go forward, to work with him and us, because we could build that vision together as to what we could be doing. But not to have him here defeats that purpose, because I do wish he would be here.
Right.
There
I would
never,
like to see
there
that.
never was
But
that
but
divide.
we need to create the
But
environment
it
to
exists
make it
now.
all
But,
happen.
but it was created.
Yeah, well,
all we have to do is step back from the last few months to what, things boiled over. Maybe you can talk to him, and
Sure.
I've felt unwelcome here in this building for a long time.
Sorry you feel that way.
Well,
personally, he's actually very nice to me. I don't.
Oh, yeah,
I
no,
look at
he's-
like a-
He could be
in
nice.
the email, he's
You know,
nice to me,
He could be
but
nice.
for example,
Hold on. I don't wanna talk about Bob when
Because
he's
he's
not
not
here to
here.
defend
I
himself,
agree
so
with
I'm
you.
not
Well,
going down that avenue.
mhm.
What, the motion that's on the table is to include on the oversee of the cable fund's use in line with the town policy.
I
That's been
second the
motioned,
motion.
that's been seconded, we can either continue discussion on that or take a vote.
Mr. Chairman,
I
do you
don't-
want to proceed?
well, what happened to get Bob to come to the meetings?
So we can make an amendment to also discuss membership and include the department head as a non-voting
No,
member. I can amend the motion to include that as the 2 narratives, that we wanna be in line with the
And you
town
said you
funding
agree.
policy.
Make an
I-
amendment.
now somebody needs to
Move an
second.
amendment.
Yes,
I
I did, I
second
just
it.
said I made an
I
amendment to that.
second it.
All
And
right,
we have a second, so
Do
those
we-
are the
do we
2
have-
things
I
that we
second
all
that.
agree on to
But-
talk about.
let's take a vote on the amendment.
Oh, yeah, I,
Aye,
Aye.
aye.
Aye. All
All
right,
in favor?
amended, so we have the, so the.
We got it somewhere.
okay,
And, okay, now we have a motion and a second.
I,
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
so those are the 2
Did you
things.
say aye?
I did, aye.
Okay, and who's gonna write this? You are?
Sure, alright.
All right, maybe you can.
I'll even get up and speak at the select board, I love it in there, that's
You're
my
gonna,
favorite. I'll speak at the select board meeting, I
well,
love
I don't doubt it.
She's at home. She's at.
it. Yeah,
I've,
Renee's my favorite.
I've spoken to more than
You are
my
my
share.
favorite too,
I,
because you're always prepared. That's
I-
what I.
I
have a
attended
lot of
every
esteem for
minute
you.
of every board selectmen's meetings.
Select board.
No.
Oh, the old.
I haven't gone to a whole lot of select board meetings,
Okay.
but I went to hundreds of select meetings from when the cable committee started. I was there from beginning to end. Anyway,
Now it's
we
a new beginning.
decided that
Yeah,
you're gonna write it up and,
and I will email it off to not only the committee, to Mr. Jatoma, to the select board, this is what our envisioning to speak on
Okay,
August
you-
13th.
you're gonna send it.
Yeah.
Okay, have we finished charge?
Yeah.
I think we have.
I think so.
Amber wants to know who is coming. Is it all of us on the 13th?
We can all attend, but I will, like
Well,
she said,
I'll tell her that,
it should be one person, the spokesperson.
well, we'll see how that goes when we get there.
Okay.
These
Yeah,
joint
but-
meetings, I do the joint meetings with the planning board too, and
It becomes a gray zone though, Mr. Chairman. We should decide now. So when we go in there, we're unified, we know what we're doing.
We should definitely post.
I don't
at the
wanna
bare
go in
minimum.
there and say, you know,
We should definitely post that night, just so that we're posted. I think that's important.
post the,
And
whatever it is, 13th.
just as a suggestion, since Colleen is gonna write it up, I would suggest she could speak to the matter, to the subject matter.
Well,
It's up to you. You can direct her to her.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Okay.
Do you think I can see what you write before you send it?
She's gonna.
I'll send it to you first.
She said she's
Okay.
gonna
Then
send
I'll
it.
Okay.
send it out to everybody.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. That's no problem.
Okay, are we happy?
Absolutely.
For certain
It's a
values
good
of
start.
happy. For certain values of happy, we're happy.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
hearing assistance. Here's
What's
one of
that?
those hot ideas that came my head. No, no.
Oh,
This is the,
they make them so small you can't even tell now.
well, these are old.
they whistle.
No, but I'm saying.
That's
I
not
didn't
so
notice.
No. As it happens, I've been looking into the possibility of getting new hearing aids. So now I realize the question comes up that there are more modern
Apparatus,
systems
yeah.
in for meeting rooms that do things like using Bluetooth, which
Really?
you can get hearing aids that have. Of course, the Bluetooth in hearing aids, I guess, is mostly done
Your
for
phone?
things like phone and television. But if I understand correctly about the what it does, I think it might be very beneficial to look at whether we should look at upgrading the hearing assistants in both conference rooms. It turns out that I've been back and forth with Bob a number of times. What is it? What can we do? And like all of us, he doesn't know about hearing aids and hearing reinforcement or enhancement or assistance. So I asked him, about contacts, and he said, well, everything like this, he goes to Danielle. And I said, well, if you could send me Danielle's current contact information, I'd like to have an exchange with her like I have ever since she was down in South Grafton. You know Danielle, don't you?
She used to be the studio manager.
No, I
she-
only went down to that old studio once because you
Okay.
guys moved over here pretty quickly after I got to town.
She was the charter person for
Yeah.
a long time, and she was just everything to it. She had worked for charter, and she was our person. Now she's gone off to the company. It's been renamed, but the company that used to supply us with the camera company. So I want to, let's go back and forth with it like we always have. Bob wouldn't send me.
Okay.
Bob
Again,
Bob says.
let's stick to the email
No,
we do
I'm
have.
trying to. I'd like to talk to her about it because I don't know enough myself. I'd like her. I asked for any pointers towards a good treatment of what is the current state. Don't have it yet, or I didn't get it. But anyway, I'm not sure that we can go very far on tonight. But I'm just curious how people feel about that as an idea, as something that we might want to look at.
I love the idea, and I'd want to expand it to the high school auditorium.
You want to?
I love the idea, and I want to expand it to the high school auditorium
Good point.
because town meeting
For town
could
meeting.
utilize it, but also it'd be great for any students, like just because we would want it for the town meeting aspect, but while it's there, any students that are wearing hearing aids, it'd be
Exactly.
amazing to watch a play or whatever.
Absolutely.
So if we're gonna do it, let's expand it into the auditorium.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, it's going to take. I think us. Well, in the past, it would have taken us, typically me, because I'm the most techie of the bunch, to work with people about it. Anyway, you're not against it, and I'm pulling the school in is another level in terms of how things happen, but
Yeah, I mean, if we can get a deal because we're doing 3 rooms instead of 2 or much bigger, you know what I mean? It's definitely worth looking into.
I think
More cost-effective,
the auditorium is likely, I think, to be more difficult because it's much larger, but, you know, there's a lot of engineering, looking at technology.
Okay.
So,
I'm in favor also.
okay, you're not,
My question is this, do we have a system in place right now in conference room A, for example?
Yes.
That is.
Yeah,
there's,
right.
a more or less traditional, I think, as much as I know, which is not enough.
It's an
Up in the
antiquated
booth.
system.
In the television booth, he has a couple, 3, whatever, of these little things. You can put one on your ear, and it can hear what
That's right.
the system is
That's the
broadcasting.
standard kind.
And I use that some, but it
Doesn't work?
well, it isn't. It didn't. It wasn't very comfortable. It wasn't very effective for me. But it's not. It's not for me. It's the idea that this might be something along the lines of cable.
Yeah, I agree.
Do we have
Okay.
a sales rep that might wanna come in and talk to us about us and tell us how it's done?
If I could line up.
Do you know a sales rep?
Huh?
Do you know a sales rep that sells this?
Not yet.
We can find it.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't. As I say, I don't have.
You can look
Okay.
into it.
Yeah,
I tried to
buy
get.
all kind of electronic equipment.
Oh, okay.
It's been, I've been asking questions about this for years, as a matter of fact. I was the one that did the town side of overseeing or interacting on the whole design of the conference room. I said where the cameras went and how all that stuff we did, so, I've been very involved in that stuff all along. And I'll,
Well, Walt,
there's no
Walt could
immediate.
find a rep for us.
What?
He could bring in a rep to talk to us.
Well, I'd like to just exchange, a website or something, to take a look at, who you know. Do you actually know somebody?
I do a lot of purchasing for electronic equipment
Oh.
with B&H Photo Video in New York City.
So I'm sure we know the reps can find.
Yeah.
Yes. I do
Because this is sort of a
those.
special thing. It was one of the things that the consultant that takes care of such stuff, in the conference room, it was put in the design without, we didn't have much interaction with it. And everybody I ask doesn't know. And,
Well, there's a lot more
Okay.
to it too. It's not just the rep, but it's also the compatibility, whatever the system is.
Yeah, well,
there, how
I
It's
you
gotta be
need to
registered
find-
exactly.
At the same time, I'm also curious, is there a PA system in conference room A? I don't.
yes. Oh, there's a
No,
whole
there's
history.
There's a
and,
system.
You don't wanna hear the history.
I
No,
don't
we
need
don't.
this, I don't need the history. There's
Well.
a system that when you play a video or something, yes, you can hear because I
I
used
wonder
it.
if Bob could help him
But
out.
when
Bob
people
should.
are talking around the table, sometimes people don't talk loud enough, and I don't know if people in attendance can hear.
That is so true. Even people that are mic'd up, so the select board each have a little mic, and
Yes.
then one select board in particular gets a really bad rap because they're just soft spoken.
Yes.
It's not me.
Right.
But people at home watch the playback and they can't hear that person, and it drives them bananas.
That's right, and unless you have individual pots to ride each one of the microphones from the control
do.
room, that you're at the
We-
mercy of.
We
Right.
do.
Every microphone
There's
has
a-
control.
There's a whole lot to this thing. There's a whole soundboard, or a whole, it's like not now packages, like digital on a rack more than this, but they can tweak the numbers. There's an audio processor in there that tries to suppress feedback. It's
Right.
all,
I
it's a
understand.
quite advanced,
Mhm.
well, it was an advanced system a few years ago. There is supposed to be 2 zones. In fact, the speakers over the desk are one zone, and then the audience is another zone. And if it's really set up right, then what's coming, you don't want too much of the mics on the desk coming down on the mics at the desk because we'll get feedback and
No,
all that. So it's a whole big thing.
I understand, but the other issue that we're faced with here is that when you do that, if we need to have someone that is going to be writing the audio levels, right, because if someone is soft spoken, you need that.
Exactly.
You can't be over here switching cameras and
He
here at the
is,
same
he
time.
is, a matter of fact.
That's,
It's gotta
so
be automated.
That-
is
they
a
do that.
challenge,
I
yes.
agree with you.
They do that. It's not exactly like, Bob DeToma and, Bill,
Right.
Bill.
Which is the-
No, he's got a window about this big, he's got the switcher, and over here is the rest of it, and it's just, move the camera. They've got, it'd be interesting, although maybe distracting for him, to have a chance to, visit and watch.
We can all agree there's more to look into, but we're all
Oh, yeah,
excited
yeah.
about it.
But I'm trying to get us on.
Yeah.
Moving on. Minutes review and approval.
Can we just
The
do that
minutes.
next time so I have time to actually read it? I
We'll
definitely
have-
didn't read it.
Okay, we'll have at least 2 minutes to review next time then,
Awesome.
because we weren't able to review the previous month's minutes, which were distributed, but you weren't part of the committee at the time, so
Nope.
didn't get a copy of that, so well, I suppose I could email
Okay,
those.
okay. We got, some stuff from Bob. I don't know, under bills, I don't know. Does anybody have any comment?
I do have a comment.
Huh?
Are we voting to approve these tonight? Why did they get sent to us? Just so
Because
that
they
we know?
always have, because we oversaw the spending.
Right, I understand. So do we know, have these been paid? And he's just notifying us because they're all late.
No, my understanding is we get it after the fact.
Okay, so this is just notifying us that this is happening.
Correct.
Okay, great, because that's what my question was. Are we getting sent this to take action on?
That's my understanding. I don't know if you,
Correct.
for what Bob
Although,
was saying.
you know,
But again,
when we get into the other, the big stuff, we gotta,
Cause
Think-
one of
think
these
more
is
about it.
$1,300.
how many?
$1,300, and we don't work for National Grid. So we're just good with some $1,300, but other $1,300.
What choice do we have?
No, but I guess that's the clarity I'm looking for when we come up with our financial spending policy. Like it's gonna be, like if you bought a $1,300 computer, I imagine you guys should feel the same way, right? That it's fine. He bought a $1,300 computer.
No, it should be,
Computer buying is another.
well,
Okay.
again, it's under the 5,000, so.
It's under the 5,000, so that's what
But-
that's what I'm
but
getting at.
If it's $1,300 every month, okay, that seems awfully high to me, but that's what Bob Berger was good at, because he knows systems and whatnot, he can both check the bills and
Okay.
Yeah, but
What's
utilities,
going on?
it's part of business.
Right,
you
so,
know,
but
So you can't.
This
it
is the
what it
daily
is. That's right.
spending, and we don't approve it, it's just notifying us.
Exactly.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that that is
For-
what is happening here.
For now, anyway, yeah, no, we used to, as it's evolved, it just, there was a time when we had to approve.
That's,
But
Oh, I have it,
oh, you have
Oh, I got it, oh,
Be-
and I made a spreadsheet for it.
before we had this current situation with the studio here, we did, cause we were spending town money and we were the ones that were seeing it spent. I had to get, I had to bring POs in and get them taken, signed and do all of the things and bring the bills in and
it's
whatnot.
2 months worth, that's why.
That's again sort of Bob Berger kept saying, okay, I got this, it's okay. He had it. So okay, so
So we don't
treasurer's
have to
report,
take
we
any
have no
votes on that?
treasurer.
Nope.
Could I ask you a question about that though? So you guys are used to seeing treasurer's reports that look like this, right?
Yeah.
Is this what you wanna keep seeing?
I would.
Okay.
Well, let's do that for now and
Yeah, Bob used to
You know.
provide those to Mary used to provide.
Okay, and how often were you provided? Every
Oh, every
meeting?
month, yeah.
Every month,
yeah.
okay,
every month.
okay, perfect, so I can make
Yeah,
sure that that's
that
what keeps
speaks.
happening.
I'd rather have that than this.
Yeah,
Bob Berger probably has that that file, that Excel file.
So these are not Excel files,
Well, he
these are
gets it-
reports that get pulled off of like
Oh.
Vadar,
Yeah,
Mary
because he-
Loria makes
Alright.
these,
Yeah, he cuts and pastes.
yeah.
You have to cut and paste
This
it
is
out
the
of the,
part
out
he
of the
would
ruler,
do,
out of the ledger.
and I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, the ledger doesn't specify just for us. It's got
Yeah.
everything.
Okay, and if everybody's happy with that one.
Yeah.
Access activity report from Bob.
Yeah.
Interesting, Any comment, any discussion?
I was excited to see the movie shows coming back, that'll be fun, I think people like that.
What's that?
Yes.
What,
Excited to see the movie shows coming back,
Oh,
people
yeah.
seem to like that.
yeah, that's good. Oh dear, yeah. Is there anything, you wanna discuss about on energy? I am out of energy. That brings me, now that brings me to the next meeting date. If it's gonna be Monday, yeah, first of all, historically, particularly when we were in South Grafton, we met in the studio on Saturday morning.
Yes.
And one of the reasons for that was then you knew you had a place and you knew you weren't conflicting with
Other meetings.
other meetings.
It didn't conflict with any other
And
meetings. It didn't conflict with any other meetings.
Yeah, and also then you were there and you were in the environment.
And donuts.
We
Yeah,
did have
like-
cheese and
Oh,
other things.
Well, okay, occasionally, but well, how is that camera doing? Well, here's the camera, and whatever it is. Okay, so happy with the access activity report?
Yep.
For now?
Yep.
Next meeting date, we have the select board on the 13th. The dates that I can do it, see, if we meet on Mondays, I have the planning board issue. Unfortunately, we also have the master plan
I
working
know,
group.
I failed on that tonight.
Linda is
First
at
one.
home trying to make the computer work. Normally, like when we were on planning board, both together, we just sit there. Each of us had a computer, but I made hers work as well as mine. Now I hope she's okay. But anyway, the dates that fit are July 29th, August 5th, and August 19th. The 13th is in between the 5th and the 19th. That's a fit for me. How do people feel? And do you want to be hybrid? Maybe not even hybrid. Maybe just no. Then you don't get a tape. If you don't do Zoom.
So it was July 29th, August 5th.
5th and August 9th and August 19th.
Unless there's something we need to discuss again before the select board meeting, I
Okay.
think the 19th works fine,
Okay.
because then we can recap the select board
Let's-
meeting,
Let's do the 19th, and if something
19th of,
August
Oh,
19th.
how much is it?
and if something comes up,
Yeah.
the chair will take action.
Excellent.
Which brings us to the last item on the
We'll
agenda.
meet here, right? But you'll send out anyway,
Send
a Zoom invite just in case.
I have to get that from Bob Toma.
I was going to make a comment that I was appointed for 2 years because we're staggering now.
Yes, I was appointed for 3. I asked him to be appointed for 3. Not sure whether that was a good
I don't
idea.
remember what I was appointed for.
You got 3,
four,
I got 2.
Three, okay.
Yeah, up until now, it was always 1 year. This was either my 40th or 41st swearing in to the cable committee.
That's awesome.
I don't think anyone is, plus all my swear-ins for all the other stuff, I don't think anybody's gonna catch me real soon.
I'm going to put that on your tombstone.
Yeah.
Swear jar.
Was there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
That motion is not debatable. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.